Hi, I'm Andrea Young, and I'm here to share with you today 6 keys to getting what you want from your entrepreneurial company. But before we get started, I have a story for you. My client had a dream to get millennials off their couches. So he started a business of adult sports leagues, soccer, volleyball, flag football, floor hockey, you name it, with referees, team schedules, uniforms, and after game socials. He quickly grew from being number 5 in the market to being number 1. But they were growing faster than they could keep up with. The staff was young and learning while they were drinking out of a fire hose. There comes a breaking point, and that was July of 2018. He discovered $200,000 in unused field rentals. Players weren't getting their uniforms until halfway through the season, and weeks would go by where there's nothing for sale on their website. They had lost their grip on the business. The business was running him instead of him running the business. He started using the system that I'm about to show you, and within 12 months, revenue had doubled and profits had tripled. So what we're going to do today is I am going to share with you 3 tools, concepts that you can go back into your business or your life and implement just one tomorrow, and things are going to get better. We're going to look at the business in a whole new way. We're going to get real. We're going to keep things simple. So if anybody here is looking for the latest management fad or a new theory or concept that you've never heard before, you'll be sorely disappointed. It's very simple, practical stuff, proven to work in entrepreneurial companies. And the third thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on stuff that gets results. Okay, let's dive in. And where we start is understanding what some of the most common frustrations are inside entrepreneurial organizations. One of the things we see business owners and leaders frustrated about all the time is this feeling that they're not in control of the business. One of our clients described it this way: my business is a van that's hurtling down the highway 60 miles an hour or 85 kilometers an hour, and I'm running behind it, trying to grab one of the back doors that are flying open and pull myself in so I feel like somebody's driving it. It's this feeling that you're out of control, that your business is in charge. The second frustration is profit, or lack of it, if I'm not being clear. You're just not making enough money for the investment you've made in time, money, and emotional investment in your business. The third common frustration is people. People can be frustrating. The typical entrepreneurial company, the owner and leaders are frustrated with their employees. They're frustrated with their customers, their business partners, their spouse, their kids, the person they're behind on the expressway. Nobody seems to get it or want it or care as much as you do. And that can be super frustrating. If you feel that way, you're not alone. That's normal. The fourth frustration is this feeling of hitting the ceiling. What worked before isn't working now. Or a lot of entrepreneurs talk about how for the first couple of years, it was almost too easy. It was weird. We were growing. Our customers seemed to love us. We could zig and zag on a dime. Any problems that came up, we solved. And then all of a sudden we hit a ceiling. We got stuck and we just couldn't figure out a way to break through that ceiling. And this is also normal. And the fifth frustration is this feeling that everything you're trying to do to fix being stuck and frustrated isn't working. And you've tried a lot of things. You've read every book. You've listened to every consultant or business thought leader on the planet. You've listened to podcasts. You've gotten coaching. You're trying to implement all of this stuff, but your leadership team feels like you're that flavor of the month leader and nothing's working. So if you feel any of those things, or you've ever felt any of those things, take solace in the fact that you're just normal. 95% of other business owners out there know what this feels like. Gino Wickman designed the EOS model to knock down those very frustrations. EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. And what he discovered was that the truly great businesses are simply very strong at 6 things that allow the company to feel as though it's moving forward to achieve your vision. So I'm going to share with you that right now. These are the 6 ways to get a grip on your business and solve those frustrations. I'll just go through them kind of by headline, and then we'll double click And I'll share with you those 3 practical tools that you can use. The first key component is vision. And when you're really good in the vision component, when you're strong in the vision component, everybody inside your organization is 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you're going to get there. So if you've got 2 or 10 or 100 people in your business, they're all rowing in one direction. The people component, very simply, you can't achieve a great vision without great people. Every company has a slightly different definition of what a great person means to them. And there are some tools that help you to do a better job of defining what great people are for your unique organization and implementing a process for attracting more of those folks and repelling some of the folks that really don't fit. The third key component is data. And this is about running your business on facts and figures, on objective information, rather than the subjective feelings, emotions, and egos that so often drive decision-making in an entrepreneurial company. If you can boil your business down to a handful of numbers that augment that great entrepreneurial gut that you all have with some real data that helps you make better, faster, stronger decisions, you're going to take your business to the moon. So that brings up our 4th key component, which is issues. Every organization has issues. If you don't have issues, that's an issue. Because the best business on the planet, most profitable, growing fast enough, has thousands of issues. And so strengthening this component is about setting those issues up as they arise, prioritizing them wisely, and solving them for the longer term greater good of the business, rather than letting them linger for days, weeks, months, sometimes even years. The process component is the 5th one, and this is very simply about getting the most important things in your business done the right way and best way every time, regardless of whether or not you're there to coach, mentor, teach, correct, or what many of us do, nudge people aside and do it ourselves because that's just easier. The process component, we take a very entrepreneurial approach to strengthening this. It's not 500-page manuals or these big SOPs. It's just high-level major steps in the process that make sure that it's done the same way each and every time. And last but not least is traction. And that's at the bottom of this model on purpose, because it's about bringing that vision down to the ground, giving your whole team discipline and accountability so that they're making your vision happen each and every day. Because after all, vision without traction is a hallucination. And the reason that you may not be achieving your vision is not because there is no vision, it's because you don't have any traction. And so we have to bring that vision down to the ground and execute it on it every day. Why does this work? Well, the magic here is in the sum of the parts, bringing together the most important tools in an organized format so you can live the principles. Creates the what and gives you the how. So this is the EOS model. The journey that you're on, we actually assess your strengths and weaknesses in each of the 6 key components. We're always shooting for 100% strong in each of the components, knowing that that's impossible. It's utopia. You're never going to get there. But what we find is when our clients get to 80% strong or higher in each of these, they're now running one of those truly great businesses. And that's our mission. Most of our clients get there in about 2 years of implementing EOS in their business, but they start to see results immediately. Truth be told, the beginning of the journey, most are running at about 20 to 40% strong in the 6 key components. And I'm sharing that with you just because you need to know that we don't work with organizations that are ready to drive into a ditch. We work with really good companies and really good people that just know they're not great yet and they want to be great. So when they self-assess using this approach and these tools and they're honest with themselves, they realize they're sort of succeeding in spite of themselves. That feeling of running behind the van. At the end of this, I'll share with you a way to do this organizational checkup yourselves so you can see where you land on the spectrum. Oh, jumping in. So I'm about to share the very first tool with you. So to strengthen the vision component, we ask the owner and the leadership team 8 questions. And I'll walk through each one of these at one at a time. And you may have done parts of this already. You may say, oh, I've already got a vision. But if you're like most businesses, there's been a lot of changeover and a lot of change in the last couple of years. You may even have new leadership team members in place. So it's something to revisit to make sure that They feel like they're part of the journey. They see themselves in the future company, and everyone's aligned on where it is that you're going. So this very first tool is called the Vision Traction Organizer. And we keep these 8 questions in this 2-page document. Vision Traction Organizer, or VTO for short. It's a really powerful way to help you crystallize the vision for your organization. I use it for my own business. It becomes your plan on 2 pages instead of a 200-page PowerPoint deck or tons of spreadsheets. So this is a very useful tool for anyone to use. Let's start at the beginning. The first question is, what are your organization's core values? Jim Collins and Jerry Porras first introduced this idea of a set of essential guiding characteristics to define culture in their book, Built to Last. But you may think this is marketing speak, or it's become overused. Rather, what we do is make sure that we use these to define you as people, to understand from a cultural fit standpoint, how do you define these great people for your unique organization? What characteristics, attributes, or attitudes does the right employee for your unique culture have to possess and exhibit every day to be a really great fit? And then we use it radically differently because you have to live those values. You hire, fire, reward, recognize, review talent to make sure that each and every person is living these core values. Once we've defined core values, we move on to question number 2, core focus. And this is just a sweet spot for your business. It's been called a million things by a million different business thought leaders. Mission statement, vision statement. Stephen Covey called it the voice. Jim Collins talks about the hedgehog concept, or it's your why, whatever you want to call it. What we're trying to do is get you to define what your business's sweet spot is. So if you play golf or tennis, you understand the analogy that when you hit the ball on the sweet spot of the club or the racket, it's going to go farther, it's going to go faster, and it's going to go straighter. So what is it that your business loves to do and is best at? And once it's defined, its purpose is to help you stay laser focused on the kind of work where you're going to make the most money, have the most fun, and most consistently satisfy your clients. Third question on the VTO is, what is your 10-year target? So this is just a very big goal for your organization, the number one goal. If you could sacrifice everything else you hope for in your business, what's the most important thing that you want to be true somewhere around 10 years from now? Now, full disclosure, time frame's up to you. Anything between 5 years and 30 years, could be 20, 30, that all works. And the more people you tell about this, the more likely you are to achieve it. The fourth question on the VTO is, what's your marketing strategy? So core values defines who you are, the core, as people, what your culture is. Core focus defines your sweet spot, what you love to do and you're best at. Your 10-year targets, where we're going to go, that we're going to take this thing long term. And the power of that, if you can get everyone aligned in the organization and on the same page with that big goal, you're going to achieve it. So this piece is really about making sure that you are talking to the right people and you have the right messaging. So we answer 4 questions in the marketing strategy. What is your target market? Simple, clear definition of the ideal customer or prospect for you. What are your 3 uniques? Oldest marketing question in the book. What are your competitive advantage? And do you all agree? The proven process is, what is the ideal customer experience that you deliver to each and every one of your target market customers? And then the 4th part is something that we call a guarantee. We built this because some clients had issues with negative perceptions and getting over purchase cycles. So in some cases, a guarantee makes sense, and in some cases, it doesn't. It's a pledge, it's a promise, or guarantee around that perceived disadvantage to eliminate as a reason for not considering you. Okay, so that brings us to the 5th question on the vision side of the document. And this is where we start to bring your vision down to the ground, make it a little more real, because your big goal may feel, a little abstract. It's that top of the mountain, and 3 years from now, this is like your tree line. So the 3-year picture is where we bring it down to the ground, make it real, make sure everybody in the organization can see the company that you intend to build in your mind's eye. And that's why we call it a picture and not a plan. When we do this, it takes about 45 minutes. It's not some big, lengthy process. Rather, it is really figuring out, painting that vivid picture. And this can be a very inspiring exercise and motivating for team members. Once you've done vision, we flip it around and we do the traction page and articulating, your 3-year vision makes you better at 1-year planning, because then when you all agree what it looks like 3 years from now, then you're going to be able to narrow it down to what do we need to do in the next year? What are the key measurables that a year from now I would say, wow, we knocked it out of the park? What are your 3 to 7 goals that you need to accomplish this year to be on track to achieve your long-term vision? And 3 to 7, because in an organization where everything's important, nothing's important. So hopefully we get to closer to 3, is always what we say. Once you're on the same page with the priorities for the year, we then turn to the next section, which are quarterly rocks. We break it down even further. And this idea was created by Stephen Covey about putting first things first. And what's important here is that you're committing together to the most important things that need to be accomplished over the next 90 days as an organization. Looking at your business through a 90-day world enables you to be agile, to prioritize, and to be accountable. So you don't keep pushing projects off until the very end of the year, not because you're lazy, but because there are so many distractions. So we set 3 to 7 company rocks and 3 to 7 individual rocks for each leader as a leadership team. So everyone is crystal clear on the company's priorities and their own priorities this quarter. These 90-day chunks make it more manageable and get the flywheel going to making progress on those 1-year goals and landing your plan. The 8th and final question on the VTO is an issues list. And a lot of people are like, why would you put an issues list on your vision and plan? That seems a little weird. But this helps to give you confidence on some of the issues, opportunities, challenges, great ideas, maybe some innovation, new piece of technology and acquisition that you may not prioritize right now, because many of us want to prioritize everything right now, but it belongs on your issues list. It's like a parking lot for things that may not be priorities now, but things that you don't want to lose sight of. So that VTO becomes your brochure for retaining people and your brochure for hiring people. This is your plan on 2 pages, and you have to share it so it can be shared and owned by all. So we call this shared by all. And, visionaries, owners, people who run the day, it's your obligation to repeat yourselves often on your vision and your plan. Your staff, they won't get it. They won't understand it. And they won't want to help you achieve it until they internalize it. And humans need to hear things 7 times for them to hear it for the first time. So that's how we get 100% strong in the vision component. Because when you're done with that, everyone in your organization knows where you're going, how your plan on how you're going to get there, and they want to be a part of it. All right, moving on to component number 2, the people component. And we leverage Jim Collins' great work in Good to Great, his analogy about getting the right people in the right seats on the bus. The right people, just so you know, are the people who share your 3 to 7 core values. They consistently exhibit those characteristics or attributes. They're the kind of people you want to be surrounded by in your foxhole. So the tool we use we use a tool called the People Analyzer to help you evaluate, assess, hire, fire, review, reward, recognize people around core values. And that's that People Analyzer. When we talk about right seats, this is someone who consistently is exceptional at their job. They're good at their job without a lot of intervention from you or their supervisor, leader, or manager. And when we talk about this, what we've done is we work on structure first, define that first, and then we take a look at people. So it's like a sports team. What are the positions on the field, and then what are the specific skill sets needed for each position? And then you look to fill those positions with players, and then what name goes back on the back of that jersey. So the second tool I'm going to share with you is called the accountability chart. And this is the way that this works. We whip out a tool called the accountability chart the first morning that we spend with a leadership team, and we start the exercise by firing everybody in the room. And we ask the team to behave more like a board of directors, not a team of people with jobs in the business, so they can think about the greater good of the business and not their own well-being. So we just focus on the right structure for the organization. If we're going to win the Super Bowl or the World Cup 5 years from now, what does our team need to look like, for example? So we talk about what are the major functions that your unique business truly has. And we get those boxes in place. And then we say, okay, do you have an integrator? This sometimes is called like a COO or a chief growth officer. It's less about their functional skills and more about that you want to have somebody who's running the day-to-day, somebody whose primary function is harmoniously integrating the left and the right hand, all the people on your team, so they're all working together to achieve a common vision. And then we also have a role called the visionary. And the visionary is a builder. They're an ideas person. They're the person that comes to meetings with 20 different ideas. They typically have their finger on the pulse of the culture or the industry or both. They love big relationships, but the minutia drives them nuts. They don't want to manage people. They don't want to have the tough conversations. It's just not their fortes either. And so this powerful duo of a visionary and integrator works so well together to make sure that you're running a business very effectively. Then we take a simple approach to creating a job description. We just identify the 5 things that each member of the team needs to obsess about and be great at every week to help the company achieve its goals. And only after that do we actually identify who the right person is for that seat. And we've got some tools to be able to help you define and make those decisions. Then roll it across your entire organization. Now, an accountability chart is more powerful than an organizational chart because it's crystal clear who does what. It avoids duplication, confusion, blaming. It makes the accountability very transparent and everyone very clear on what their roles are. Now, what you're going to find with these tools is that you come across 2 distinct kinds of people issues. Most companies right now have someone who's the right person in the wrong seat. You love them. They're loyal. They share your core values. You can't imagine opening the doors tomorrow morning without them there but the seat might have outgrown them or they've outgrown the seat. Companies more complex. They're just not very good at the technology. Regardless, they're in the wrong seat. And the choice you have is to make is there another seat where they'd be awesome every day? Because you don't want them to come to work every day and fail either. And so that is one. The second one you've got to solve is if you've got the wrong person in the right seat. So this is a person that might be doing very well at their job. They're handling all the getting the results needed. However, they are not exhibiting the core values. They end up being a poison, a toxin to the culture of the organization. And you can't even necessarily see this happening, but it can bring down a company if you're not on top of it. And so although sometimes these are hard decisions to make, a right person in the wrong seat, a wrong person in the right seat, sometimes you need to make the tough decisions to make sure you got the right people in the right seats. On to the data component. So you're either drowning or starving for information and you don't have an absolute pulse on the business. This is the art and science of running a business on a handful of real, actionable numbers and not information just for information's sake. So we start by building a leadership team scorecard with just 5 to 15 measurables on it. A handful of numbers that tell us how we're doing every week towards achieving our goals. These are just examples of a few things that we see on a typical employee scorecard. They're, leading indicators, activity-based numbers, not trailing numbers, which happened last month or last quarter, because we're trying to speed up your ability to make decisions before it's too late. It's too late to impact them if they've if they've landed on your balance sheet or your P&L. The other important thing here is to be able to get really crystal clear on what number each employee is responsible for. Not the person that's going to enter in the number, but the person that's going to action if things are off track or celebrate when they're on track. All right, I've taught you what 100% strong looks like in the first three components. You're going to see, though, a lot of issues. You'll have people issues. Your numbers are going to be off track. Your vision isn't clear. You don't have the right target market. You're not staying within your core focus. So we've got to strengthen your issues component. We've got to get you better at setting up your issues as they arise and then solving them forever, rather than, wrapping duct tape around them because you're too busy and shoving them in the corner of your office and just sitting there hoping they don't blow up on you right now. So the tools we use for that are the issues list mindset. This may sound small, but it's actually huge. And it's a cultural shift, not a tactical change. So what we're trying to do here is create a culture where you celebrate when somebody comes into your office and says, oh, we got a problem. And rather than, shutting them down or saying, oh, I'm too busy, we celebrate with the courage to say, hey, we're not people, if we're not very good at this, we got a client pissed off, there's too much scrap in the plant, whatever those are, you celebrate the fact that you're creating an open and honest culture that people can feel very free to be able to surface some of those problems. And then we start to solve them. And we do this with something called IDS, identify, discuss, and solve. So the most important thing here is to get at the root issue. What is the root cause of that issue? And sometimes it's asking, why, to get at the root problem so everybody knows the problem that you're trying to solve. And then we discuss it briefly. So not some big, long debate or, politicking, repeating each other, all that kind of stuff, but we discuss it briefly and then spend the majority of the time solving it. What are the different options for solving this? What's the action plan? Who's going to be responsible for it? What we teach these teams that, that this helps you to break down those issues so they don't come back time and time again. All right, the fifth key component is process component, and I would rather gouge my eyes out than talk about process in front of a screen full of visionary entrepreneurs. But I've learned through my EOS journey that you cannot be an entrepreneur if your process component's not strong. Because what process does is it builds a mechanism in your business where the routine things get done well every day without you or your leadership team needing to be involved. So that frees up you up to be a visionary entrepreneur. It frees up your leaders to be leaders rather than the teachers of routine behaviors. So we have a very entrepreneurial approach to how we do this. Sixth key component, this is last for a reason. It's at the bottom of the model. Again, because this is about bringing your vision down to the ground, making it real, ensuring everybody's executing on it. It's about focus, discipline, and accountability. And the tools that we use to drive that are the rocks, so getting to those 3 to 7 key priorities for everybody in the organization. And the other one is holding very effective meetings and having a strong meeting pulse. So that leads me to the third tool that I'm going to share with you today. And my team members absolutely love this. The clients that I work with feel that this is a game changer for driving more effective and productive meetings and ensuring that the communication between team members is clear. So we talked about these creating that 90-day world. We've got 5 rules to a meeting pulse so that you've got, you're running it on the same day, the same time. You start on time, you end on time, and you have the same agenda. Meetings suck, especially when you're having a meeting about the meeting or pre-meeting before the meeting, or you have to have a meeting to debrief the meeting. And why don't they work? It's not that meetings stink. It's maybe that your meetings stink. So if you're like me, I'm going to teach you how to make your meetings better next. And these are the hard, fast rules on just making sure you've got like the logistics set up, that you're always using this, these 5 rules, same day, same time, start on time, end on time, and same agenda. So we call this a level 10 meeting because you want to get 100% strong or you want to be a 10 out of 10. Meeting starts exactly on time. with good news, piece of personal good news, a piece of business good news from the prior week. Every team member shares this amongst each other. It allows you to segue into your into your business self, and celebrate some of the wins. We then would spend 5 minutes on scorecard. Are you on track or off track with your numbers? And if you're off track, you're not gonna pause and stop the meeting right then and there. Rather, you're going to drop it down to the issues list. And so this is a very quick reporting only exercise of, am I on track? Am I off track? Same thing with rock review. Are you on track or off track with your rocks? Are you going to be able to complete it by the date that you laid out, that you sent, committed to? And then we also do customer and employee headlines. So any news that's that people need to know about, good news, bad news, is shared. And then after that, after you've done that reporting section, we would spend some time on the to-do list. And so this is the to-do list from last week. We're holding a 90-minute meeting. And these are the to-dos that you had from last week. And the question is, are they to done? And so you go through those. And here's where you spend the bulk of the meeting. This is on an issues list, or an IDSing, using that process we talked about earlier on solving some of these issues. So something from your scorecard drop down to the issues list, then you really want to understand what's going on here. Are we seeing a pattern? And what is the root cause of why we're not hitting that number, for example, and then solving that. And this can be really, this helps you to solve some of those issues one by one. You're doing this as a team, using the genius in the room to come up with the best possible plans. And you may only solve one big meaty issue, or you may solve 20 issues in that meeting. And that's okay. You're getting the big things out of the way. And then we finish up with a 5-minute conclusion where you're going to score yourselves. How did we do on this meeting? At a score of 10, you're hoping to get a 10 out of 10, because that means it's been it was time well spent, it was productive, and you go from there. So those are the 6 key components. That's the EOS model. I whizzed through it because of time, but I want to leave you with some gifts and a challenge. There are 5 foundational tools to a very smooth EOS. We had time today to only go through 3 of them, but I use one. This is your challenge. Use one of those EOS tools, whether it's the vision traction organizer, or it's the accountability chart, or the meeting pulse. Put something into practice. Now on to my gifts for you. I want to give you any of those tools that you want. If you want to have access to them, scan this code. It'll take you right there and allow you to download these free EOS tools. And when you do that, I will send to you the organizational checkup survey so that you can see, are you 80% strong? You might already be there. Or if you're not, then just understanding where you're starting from. And the other thing I'll offer to you is that you can have a free book, or you can gift a free book to someone else that you think could really benefit from this. EOS, this book, I didn't mention it earlier. Traction is the number 1 on the top sellers list for entrepreneurs. And EOS is all written up in here with full explanations and all that kind of stuff too. And it's a great, great book. So if you don't already have it, please scan this, and I will follow up with you to offer you a free book, or one that you can give to someone else that you think could really benefit. And that's it. Thank you very, very much. I hope you got something out of this, and one step further in terms of getting a grip on your business. Bye.